ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Jai Gurudev. I think yesterday we did this, we repeated this, but if you want me to read this one more time, let me know. That Atma is not established by a pramana, the nature of perception. Shastra is a pramana. I'll quickly go through this one more time. So the explanation for those three terms, Anashi, Nitya and Aprameya, right? This was the 18th verse we were doing. 1 minute. Yeah. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmadyudhyasva bharata. These bodies of the embodied one, the self, which is not subject to change, which is indestructible, and which is not available as an object of knowledge, are said to be subject to end. Therefore, O descendant of Bharata, fight. Krishna unfolded the Satvastu, showing that no one can destroy this Atma, including Ishvara, because it is indestructible and itself sustains everything. Now, what about the Asat? If Sat is indestructible and pervades everything, and if everything depends upon the Sat, does that which depends upon the Sat not become as true as the Sat? Is it not said that you acquire the same qualities as the company you keep? Is it not also true that if you string roses and then remove them all, the string will continue to smell like roses because of its previous association with them? Similarly, here, since the Asat is always with the Sat, is there not some kind of attribute transference because of this association? And then, will not the Asat gain the same attribute of being indestructible? No, because there is no association. The string is different from the rose, but both enjoy the same empirical reality. What we call string has a certain empirical reality, as does the rose. Both of them enjoy the same degree of reality, and therefore one can lend its attributes to the other because association is possible between objects belonging to the same order of reality. But between the Sat and the Asat, however, such an association is not possible, just as it is not possible between the pot and clay. There is only one thing here, clay, which is Sat. Therefore, the Asat cannot gain indestructibility by association with the Sat. So there is only clay. When the pot is made, it is as though it is there, but when you destroy the pot, the clay is not destroyed. You can destroy the pot, but not the clay. Because clay is what is reality, and pot is something that is created out of this clay. Similarly, Atma is reality, is the truth. And the whole world is created from the Atma. And therefore, while the world is destructible, Atma is indestructible. So, although Atma is indestructible and the world Asat has Sat in it does not gain the attribute of the Sat. The physical body is Mithya. When you say this is the body, what is it exactly? Is it the skeletal structure, the skin, the flesh, marrow, blood, a given cell, or the DNA? There is no one thing that we call body. All of this put together is the body. You can look at it in many different ways. You can look at it biologically or simply from the standpoint of being nothing but minerals, calcium, phosphorus, and so on. Because each component depends upon so many other things. The physical body is mithya. Or if you take the body as a whole, it depends upon the five elements. According to the model in Vedanta, however you look at it, the body is mithya. The physical body is a product created at a given time and is subject to modification. Because it has been created, it has an end. Antavat. Krishna pointing out all the bodies standing before them, including his own, described them as Antavantaha. To whom do these bodies belong? The body, Sharira, is given existence and consciousness by Atma alone. Satvastu lends its existence equally to the physical body, Sthula Sharira, and the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. Because the subtle body can reflect consciousness, the body is conscious. Therefore, the Sharira belongs to and has its being in Atma, which is the indwelled of the body. But the fact is that we think the body is eternal, which is why nobody wants to die. But deep within, we have that. We know we are Atma, we know that we are eternal, but there is still that layer of confusion, that misidentification, that we consider ourselves, I, the Atma, to be just the body, mind, sense complex. That is why when you talk of Stula Sharira, we don't want to die. We want to live forever. When we look at the Sukshma Sharira, when the ego is hurt, We want the ego to remain the way it is. We don't want it to be hurt. We want it to be happy all the time, which is why we do not like to be unhappy. Because our true nature is actually happiness. But then we identify the true nature. We superimpose the ego on the atma. So whenever the ego is hurt, we think the atma is hurt. But that is where we need to draw this distinction out of awareness. Say, okay, this is only another sheath of existence. So two words were used with reference to the physical body in this verse. Deha, ime deha, which is plural, and shariri, nityasya sharirinaha, which is singular. Nitya means eternal, that which is not subject to change. The one who indwells this body as Atma, the meaning of the word I. Because there is only one Atma, the singular Shariri is used, whereas with reference to all these bodies that undergo change and come to an end, the plural Dehaha is used. Who can be destroyed? In one stroke, three facts have been conveyed here. One is that the bodies are many and Atma is one. Secondly, Atma does not come to an end and is behind every Sharira. Thirdly, Atma cannot be destroyed. This being so, whom can you kill? You can only kill something that is subject to destruction. The destructible alone is destroyed. The one that cannot be destroyed is the real person. You, he or she, the I, the Atma that is always there. Therefore, do what is to be done. Fight, Yudhyasva, Krishna told Arjuna. What Arjuna had to do at the time was to protect the dharma by fighting this war. A war was at hand and he had to fight because this was his dharma as a kshatriya. There are two types of destruction, nasha. One is destruction in a relative sense. He is destroyed because she walked out on him. This is not real destruction. It is figuratively used here. A person who has terminal cancer is destroyed more or less. Although the final rites may not yet have been done, we say the person is finished. His life is over. Then, when it is literally over, when the person has died, there is another type of destruction. We have thus total destruction and relative destruction. Similarly, there are two types of eternity, relative and absolute. In order to point out that which always is and is never destroyed at all, two words are used in this verse, Nitya and Anashi. Both words mean that which is absolutely free from any form of change or death, and therefore absolutely free from time, timeless. So, what is pointed out in these two words, Anashi and Nitya, is not relative destruction or relative eternity. It is absolute eternity and absolute indestructibility. There is also another adjective used here, aprameya. Prameya means that which is to be known, that which can be known. The knower, pramata, gains the knowledge, prama, of an object, prameya, through a means of knowledge, pramana. Again, I'll repeat this. There are four things here. Prameya is that which is to be known. So the knower is Pramata, gains the knowledge. Knowledge is Prama, of an object, Prameya, through a means of knowledge, Pramana. So there is the knower, knowledge, object of knowledge, and the means of knowledge. Atma is said here to be aprameya, meaning something that is not an object to be known. Any prameya, anything that is seen by you, any object that is available for your pramana as an object, drishya, is non-eternal, anitya. Anything that is seen by you is anitya. Why? Because anything that is seen is within the time-space framework alone and is therefore anitya. You cannot say a pot, for example, is drishya and also nitya. To say that something is drishya, seen, means that it is changing every second. It is never the same because it is within time. And time is an element which keeps on effecting change. Any object, therefore, is never the same. It is always different. What is available for you to know is therefore always anitya and never nitya. Because Atma is not available as an object of knowledge, it is aprameya. But if Atma is not an object of knowledge, why are you doing all this study? What is the Gita Shastra for if not for knowing Atma? So, what is the logic here? That every object that is seen, anything that is seen, is in the framework of time and space, and anything which is in the framework of time is subject to change. Because time is an element which keeps on effecting change. Change is the order of reality with respect to the framework of time and space. The nature, whereas Atma is aprameya. So why are we learning? What is the use of the Gita Shastra? If Atma is aprameya, the nature of perception. Here, Shankara enters into a short discussion, which he picks up again in more detail elsewhere in the Gita. All these bodies are said to be anitya, subject to destruction, whereas Atma, the Shariri, who obtains in all bodies, is nitya. Atma is aprameya, not available as an object of knowledge. Anything subject to distinct understanding is called parichedya. There are three words used with reference to our understanding of a distinct object: parichedya, parichedaka, and paricheda. Parichedya means that which is subject to limitation, paricheda. Parichedaka is what brings about this paricheda. So, this is with respect to our understanding of any particular distinct object. So, the distinct object is called parichedya. And parichedaka is that which brings about the paricheda. Paricheda is limitation. And parichedaka is that which is what brings about this limitation, paricheda. Let's see the example. Through the sense organs, you perceive objects. The eyes, for example, perceive the form and color of an object. Therefore, the sense organs all become parichedakas. For varieties of parichedyas, each of the sense objects, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, is distinct from one another and therefore parichedya. The form that the eye sees is parichedya because it is perceived as distinct from all other things. Therefore, any pramana which picks up a distinct piece of knowledge becomes parichedaka, and what is picked up is parichedya. So the eyes are the pramana for anything that we see in the name of form or color. In other words, the eyes become the parichedaka. Similarly, anything to do with sound, the ears are the pramana or the parichedaka. Pramana and parichedaka are synonymous here. So, any object of knowledge that can be known in the form of a cognition, such as this is a pot, this is a cloth, this is a tree, this is a man, this is a woman, is parichedya, because an object of knowledge is conditioned or limited in nature and perceived as such through the sense organs. Because it's a distinct thing. Tree is a tree, tree is not the pot. So it is a distinct knowledge, distinct object, therefore it is parichedya. Now, therefore, the sense organs become parichedakas and the objects are parichedyas. That which is not known in a determinate form as an object by all these pramanas is what is meant here by aprameya. Whereas Atma is not a distinct form, is not a distinct object. And therefore it is aprameya. So what is aprameya? That which is not known in a determinate form as an object. Brahman is not one more object that you see, like the pot or the tree. If Brahman is also parichedya, then it becomes one of the objects in the world and therefore becomes anitya. However, Brahman cannot be known by the pratyakshadi pramanas, the various means of knowledge that are available to us, such as perception, inference, etc. The etc. adi here includes words, shabda, meaning that the Veda is also a pramana. When the Veda is a pramana, then heaven, Swarga, for example, is a prameya and therefore a parichedya. What is parichedya? Prameya is an object of knowledge, right? Parichedya is a distinct object of knowledge. Knowledge gained by Shabda Pramana is again determinate knowledge. Because heaven is not hell, earth, or this or that. It is a distinct object. Thus, there is limitation. So we saw any distinct object has a limitation because it is seen. Anything that is seen is limited by time and space and it affects change and therefore it has its limitation. If heaven is mentioned by the Vedas, then it means that it is something which can be known distinctly. Similarly, when you say punya, it is not papa. It is not produced by wrong karma. It is produced by right karma. In this way, we understand what punya is and what it does purely by the shabda, the word. Therefore, shabda is also a pramana, a means of knowledge. Atma is not established by a pramana. If the Atma cannot be known even by Shabda, why then do you study the Gita Shastra? If it is not an object of knowledge for the Pratyakshadi Pramanas, how can Vedanta be a Pramana for the Atma? Addressing this question, Shankara first says that Atma is not known by any Pramana, including the Veda, because it is not an object of knowledge. Thinking that Atma could be known through this pramana, a person goes to a guru, does a lot of service, and at the end of it, the guru says that Atma is not known even through the Veda. Since the guru teaches only the Veda, what is the use of all this? Naturally, such a person thinks it has all been a waste. He or she also thinks that the Atma is understood perhaps through the pratyakshadi pramanas. Shankara refuted this notion here by saying that Atma is not known by the pratyakshadi pramanas, including the Veda. Such a bold statement, Shankara says. Before you listen to the Vedanta Shastra, Atma must be there. The existence of Atma is not established by a pramana like the Veda, nor can it be established by perception, pratyaksha, or inference, anumana. If the existence of Atma were to be established by any of the pramanas, resulting in such knowledge as here is a pot, here is a table, here is the Swami sitting, etc., then we would be using perception, of course, but we would not be establishing the Atma behind the perception. Only when the knower is already established can there be an inquiry through a pramana. Oh, it's not happening. My volume is full actually. In fact, I'm talking through my phone. So maybe you can check your volume a little bit. Maybe you can adjust.
Yeah, I also put in full volume. Okay, maybe.
Are you not able to hear me clearly, all of you, the rest of you?
Yeah, now I can hear you, Dr. Brahma.
One thing I wanted to know, only when the knower is already established, what it does it mean that he is well versed, or he has that inquiry of a seeker inside him? Is it said that way?
No, no. Here, the knower is established in the sense the knower is already there before the pramana.
Okay. Okay.
Isn't it?
In that
See,
context.
in that context, Atma is here. The why we're coming here to this point is to establish the fact that Atma is Svata Siddha. It is self evident. It is eternal. It's always there. So even before you uh, use the pramana, Atma is already there.
Yeah, it is already established. Now I followed. Yeah.
Only when the knower is already established can there be an inquiry through a pramana.
Right. Thank you.
See, if there is a pot, for example, there is a pot. A person who is sleeping, the pot is it does not make sense telling the person who's sleeping that there is a pot. For the person who's sleeping, there is no pot. The knower, he has to be awake, and then yes, he sees that there is a pot. So that knower should be established already before you use a pramana.
Yeah.
Maybe
Right.
I'm confusing a little bit here, but
No, it's clear. Yeah.
yeah. So before you listen to the Vedanta Shastra, Atma must be there. Because who is the one listening? The existence of Atma is not established by a pramana like the Veda, nor can it be established by perception or inference, pratyaksha or anumana. If the existence of Atma were to be established by any of the pramanas, resulting in such a knowledge as here is a pot, here is a table, here is the Swami sitting, then we would be using perception, of course, but we would not be establishing the Atma behind the perception. Only when the knower is already established can there be an inquiry through a pramana. Vedanta Vichara inquiry can only be done when there is an Atma to inquire. If Vedanta were to establish the Atma, it would mean that until one inquired into Vedanta, Atma did not exist. This means you were not there. Who is it then that goes to Vedanta, which says that Atma is limitless? Moreover, who listens to this Vedanta? The Atma. The one who wants to know anything is the same one who can use any of the pramanas to inquire into what is to be known. Even before the pramanas are pressed into service for gathering such knowledge, there must be a self evident Atma. Therefore, the Veda does not establish the Atma as it does any other existent thing. Heaven, Swarga, for instance. A Swarga that is unknown to me is made known to me by the Shastra. I come to know of something called Punya that is said to be dormant in a karma which can be invoked through the Shastra alone. Thus, we find these unknown things discussed in the Shastra as potentially existent things. Similarly, there are many unknown things in the world which we come to know through the various pramanas. A new disease, for example. Having come to know about it, we say the disease is. After discovering it, we look for its cause. Then, after finding the cause, we say the cause is, and the treatment for the cause is. After treatment, we say the side effects are. Like this, with the help of pramanas, we keep on discovering things that exist but which were so far not known. Although Atma is not available as an object of knowledge, it is not totally unknown. In fact, Shankara says that Atma is not something unknown to anyone. It is always self evident, Svata Siddha, self established. No one's Atma is unknown. Everyone's Atma is known. Only then is the operation of the pramanas possible. The Atma is not established by a pramana, it is Svata Siddha. It's a little subtle, but it is only because of the existence of Atma that we are even able to see, we are even able to hear. The, the application of any of the pramanas is possible because of this self evident Atma. If we take the example of the waking dream and the deep sleep state, in the deep sleep, the waker is not there, so the whole world is non existent. But then, and because there is that Atma there, who is the one who says, I've had experienced aham kimapi na janami sukhena maya nidra anubhuyata. So when you wake up, you say, I experienced deep sleep. I don't know what happened. I don't know anything, but I experienced deep sleep. So who is that who's saying, I experienced deep sleep? None of the pramanas are working, but that Svata Siddha Atma is there. Therefore, Atma is not completely unknown. Atma is known. Which is why it is always self evident. It is no one's Atma is unknown. And because it is known, it is not an object, it is not a distinct object that, like name and form, like sound, taste, smell, it is not distinct. It is always there. It is self evident. Can I proceed, or do you want to do some manana on this? Okay, the Shastra is a pramana. Then the problem would be, what about the Shastra? If I already know the Atma, how can the Vedanta Shastra be a pramana? Here, Shankara says that the Shastra is definitely a pramana. How? Revealing the existence of Atma is not what establishes the Shastra as a pramana, but the Shastra is the status of a pramana because it removes the wrong notions I have about Atma. So it is not revealing the existence of Atma. Pramana is not, Veda is not establishing Atma's existence. That Atma exists is a known fact. Otherwise, you will not be able to perceive, say, see anything. But what does the Shastra do, and why is it a pramana? Is because it just removes the wrong notions I have about Atma. Atma by nature is Param Brahma, and that Param Brahma is not known to us. The pramanas available to us are only good for knowing things other than ourselves. The Atma is already Swatha Siddha, and it is this Swatha Siddha Atma that is mistaken for a Jiva, a doer, Karta, an enjoyer, Bhokta, one who is happy from one moment and sad the next, Sukhi and Dukhi. That I am a jiva, an individual, means that I am someone who is limited, as good as the body, etc. This is the natural conclusion of every jiva because of ignorance, avidya. The three granthis, no, that bind us, the bind the jiva. Avidya, karma, and what is the third granthi?
What was your question again?
No, no. See, the jiva is the one. Atma by nature is Param Brahma. But that I am Param Brahma is not known to us.
Mm-hmm.
We consider ourselves as Jiva. It's we that the wrong
Right.
notion we have
Mm-hmm.
is that we are the Jiva, we are limited.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm a Jiva means that I'm someone who's limited as good as the body. This is the natural conclusion of every Jiva because of ignorance, avidya.
Vidya. Mm-hmm.
Somewhere earlier we had learned there are three granthis. The primary, the root cause of this is one is avidya, the other is karma, and I'm not sure whether there was a third one or is it only avidya and karma.
Avidya and karma, is it?
Yeah, these are what bind us, no?
The abstractions that we learned was, yeah, you're right, Anadi, Avidya.
I don't want to, stall this. It just occurred to me the granthis, the primary granthis that bring in this jivatva in us. The notion that I am the jiva is because of avidya, is because of avidya. That is the natural conclusion of every jiva because of ignorance. The status of being a jiva, jivatva, has been superimposed upon the atma. In other words, the seeking
We read
person.
in the previous verse the three abstractions we read. I can't recollect it either. It is the same one.
No. This three aspects were taught was anashi, nitya, and aprameya. We didn't learn about abstractions. My reflection on this avidya, jiva and avidya was in one of the chapters of Bhagavad Gita, we learned about Swamiji talked about the three granthis,
Mhm.
those that bind the jiva to the atma to the body. One was avidya, one is karma, and or maybe it's
Okay,
just
to come.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't want to disturb this train of thought. Let's just go with this. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the status of being a jiva jivatva has been superimposed upon the atma. In other words, the seeking person is born of avidya. This is an error of self identity, which only the Shastra can resolve. One's own pramanas are of no use here. The Shastra does not prove the existence of the Atma, it only removes the confusion. For this reason, it has the status of being a pramana, that is, it has pramanatva. It does not bring to your recognition the Atma as an object that is totally unknown, as it does for other unknown things like heaven, for instance. When the Shastra says there is a heaven, heaven as an unknown thing is brought to your understanding. You understand that there is such a thing as heaven. When the Shastra says that this particular ritual will produce this particular result, it is definitely bringing an unknown thing to your recognition. That this ritual has this efficacy is not known to you by any other pramana. Therefore, the Shastra has the status of being a pramana by bringing to your recognition something that is totally unknown to you and that cannot be known by you through any other pramana. But when it comes to the Atma, the Shastra has pramanatva only in so far as it removes all superimpositions upon the Atma. Knowledge is nothing but the removal of ignorance. It cannot be a superimposition upon ignorance. If ignorance is not removed, there is no knowledge at all. Ignorance being opposed to knowledge. Only the removal of ignorance is necessary. Ignorance of Atma is present, and the Shastra has the capacity to remove it, meaning that it removes all the confusion centered on Atma. But Atma is self evident. That is why there is confusion. The Atma is self evident, but that it is limitless is not known. Hence, all the limitations of the body, mind, etc., are superimposed on it.
Mhm.
See, Shastra becomes a pramana when it talks of heaven. Because heaven, for a person who does not know what heaven is, through the Shastra, the heaven, the concept of the heaven is brought in, saying, you do punya karma, you will go to heaven. So something that is totally unknown through the Shastra Pramana is made known to this person. Whereas with the Atma, Shastra is not a true Pramana in the sense it does not need to establish Atma. Atma is not something that is totally unknown to us. There is that knowledge of Atma. The only problem we have is there's a wrong notion, there's a confusion that we have superimposed the limited body, mind, sense complex on this limitless Atma. So, Shastra, Gita, Shastra, Vedanta, they're all pramanas in the sense they remove this confusion.
So they call it as Pramanatva.
Yeah.
That knowledge is to remove the ignorance, the superimposition of body, mind, and the body, mind complex upon the Atma. So what we have to take it is we cannot define like Atma, but it's just that Atma is self-evident, limitless, eternal. Nitya is eternal, right? And then
Aprameya.
Aprameya, indestructible. Yeah. Avyaya also we read the same thing, right? Avyaya. Prameya. Prameya is the object of the knowledge. It's not object of the knowledge. So prameya. So Atma is already known, but not as an object. That's it. We read this yesterday or the same
Yeah,
thing?
we read this yesterday. I went
Oh,
through
okay.
the
That's what I was wondering. Is it the same? We said like,
yeah,
okay,
because
you're going through it again. Okay.
yes,
Mhm.
Atma is already known, but not as an object. If
Yeah.
Atma were to be totally unknown, like heaven, you would not say that you are a Sukhi or a Dukhi or a Samsari. To say I am finished is possible only because you have concluded that you are a Samsari. Therefore, the Atma I is already self evident. However, it is taken for something other than what it is, and the Shastra makes the necessary correction, thereby proving itself to be a pramana. Shankara quotes the Shastra saying that this Brahma Atma is self evident, aparoksha. That which is self evident is the Atma, Brahman. Are you all able to see the? Oh, sorry. I think there is some connection problem.
It was there a moment ago. Now it's
Yeah,
now
yeah.
it's
One.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The PDF is always there. The Zoom connection is what as though took it off.
Oh, I see. Now we are seeing. I'm seeing your
Yeah, yeah,
page.
yeah. So, if the Atma were to be totally unknown like heaven, you would not say that you are a Sukhi or a Dukhi or a Samsari. Who is that who's saying, I am Dukhi, I am Sukhi, I am Samsari? Who is that I? Which is why Ramana Maharshi kept asking. Just keep asking, who is this I? You will reach the near the true I. To say I am finished is possible only because you have concluded that you are a samsari. Therefore, the Atma I is already self evident. However, it is taken for something other than what it is, and the Shastra makes the necessary correction, thereby proving itself to be a pramana. Shankara quotes the Shastra saying that this Brahma Atma is self evident, aparoksha. That which is self evident is the Atma, Brahman. Everything else becomes evident to the self. In this verse, Krishna says that all bodies are subject to destruction, whereas Atma, the indweller of the body, is not subject to destruction because it is the subject, not an object, aprameya. This is the point here. Any object is subject to destruction, whereas Atma, not being an object, is Nitya. Anything aprameya is Nitya, and only one thing is aprameya, the Swata Siddha Atma. Therefore, Atma is not subject to time and thus not subject to destruction. So beautiful. What we need do is detach ourselves from our limited notion, that the wrong notion that we are the limited body, mind, sense complex. We just have to establish firmly the knowledge that I am limitless, I am nitya, aprameya, aparoksha, anashi. And that is what the Shastra does. It removes this confusion. Krishna concluded by saying, therefore fight Arjuna. Tasmat yudhyasva bharata. What does this mean? There is nothing for you to be sad about. Things that die, die. Things that are dying, die. Things that remain permanent. If Arjuna wanted to destroy Bhishma's Atma, he could not. Had he wanted to stop Bhishma's body from dying, he could not. Either way, Arjuna could not do anything. Therefore, what is to be done is to be done. He cannot stop Bhishma's body from dying, physical body, neither can he destroy Bhishma's Atma.
So the knowledge point is we have to say that the Atma is the I, right? That part is the I part.
Yes.
The body, mind, complex and all that is, we call it as Anatma, or that's not that person, or
That is the Jiva, but the Jivatma is separate, is different, is distinct from the Jiva.
Jiva. Okay. So the body mind complex is separately they're saying as Jiva. Okay. So that is, so that part, when you say it's dying, it died, that part, what do you
Yeah.
call that?
So the body is what is dying. No, Atma is
Yeah,
not dying.
right.
Atma,
Stop functioning. Mm-hmm.
body is something that is born. It is come into existence at a particular time.
Right.
When you want to call the body came into existence, whether from the cell form, when the sperm and ovum came together, is that when it came into existence?
So the body is dependent on this Sat part, right? That
Yes.
Asat. So
Yes.
this Asat relative, what do you call that? Is a relative reality.
Yes.
So, hmm.
So Arjuna's problem was he's going to kill his people.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's
Right.
bringing to the awareness, hey, listen, whom are you going to kill? You cannot kill the Atma. Bhishma's Atma is eternal. The
Mm-hmm.
Atma is one in all beings. The body will anyway die. So, what are you doing? You are not killing anything. What you have to do is do what you have to do, is protect Dharma. Therefore, he says, Yudhyasva.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's timeless and not indestructible Atma, right? That. Mm.
Timeless and indestructible, not indestructible. If you're saying not indestructible, it means destructible. So Atma is timeless, yes, and is indestructible. Shankara says here that Krishna was not giving Arjuna an order to fight. That is not the point here. The meaning here was do not entertain the idea of withdrawing from the battlefield. What is the difference between this statement and an order to fight? There is a difference. Shankara says this was not a command that one should actually fight. If it was not a command, then was it a request? No, Arjuna was already prepared to fight. He had come with his entire armory, but then found himself obstructed by sorrow and delusion. He was Shoka Moha Pratibadha. That is why he became silent. He could not proceed because he was completely paralyzed psychologically and emotionally for various reasons. Therefore, he was no longer interested in fighting and turned his attention to something else. All that Bhagwan was doing here was removing the sorrow and delusion that were the obstructions, pratibandhas. Afterwards, if the fighting was to be done, then it was to be done. Therefore, Yudhyasva was not a command. It was only asking Arjuna to do what was to be done. It was only a restatement of what he was planning to do. Bhagwan does not ask people to fight each other. Gita Shastra, Shankara states, is not a pravritti shastra like the Karma Kanda, which enjoins people to perform various rituals and other actions. It is a nivritti shastra, moksha shastra. To have asked Arjuna to fight would have been a pravritti shastra, whereas the nivritti here is the removal of the cause of samsara, sorrow and delusion, which is ignorance. So Gita continues to be its uh, holds its purpose as a nivritti shastra. Although seemingly Krishna has said Yudhyasva, stand up and fight, it is actually asking Arjuna to do what was to be done.
Yeah, that's a pravritti shastra. But still, it's a mokshas in the
It
end.
holds its it holds its
Yeah,
stand
not
as
a
a
limited end. Yeah.
nivritti shastra.
Mhm.
Because what Krishna is doing here, he is very clearly in the first sentence or first line of the verse, he has
Mm.
mentioned what is destructible, what is not destructible.
Mm-hmm.
You are not the one killing. So just get up and do what is to be done.
Mm.
So he's clearing up the confusion. So therefore, it is a moksha shastra.
Mm.
Yeah, I think this is where we stopped yesterday also. We will continue with this tomorrow, removing the obstacles to knowledge.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking about, that abstraction, like
Ah,
then when we read like Pratibantas or the question. I think you read it a little bit here, I think. Taking care of
yeah.
your child. Mm, right.
We have about one, two, and three paras. I will just read this if you're
Yeah,
all
yeah. That'd be
okay,
nice to
so that we
finish with.
complete this verse.
Yeah.
So, removing the obstacles to knowledge. The Gita Shastra is meant to remove the ignorance which is the cause for samsara, consisting of shoka and moha. This should be understood well. It was sorrow and delusion that clouded Arjuna's mind, and for that alone, the Gita Shastra was given by the Lord. Therefore, Krishna was not asking Arjuna to fight. Arjuna was already fighting. He was simply saying that Arjuna should do what was to be done. In other words, he was saying, don't give me these kinds of arguments in order not to fight. Suppose someone were to say, I will not take care of my child because it takes so much time to take care of a child. It consumes too much of my personal life. I want to pursue Atma, and to take care of this child will take 17 years, perhaps longer. I cannot wait for moksha. If such a person were to go to Krishna and Krishna happened to teach the Gita, he or she would be told, take care of your child. Or if a man were to tell Krishna that he wanted to get rid of his wife so that he could become a sannyasi, or that he wanted to become a sannyasi in order to get rid of her, he would be told not to use sannyasa for this purpose. There are smaller solutions available. And if this man thinks that by getting rid of his wife, he will become a sannyasi, Krishna would say, I am sorry. Such an idea is quite useless. It will not work. You had better take care of your wife. Arjuna had been talking to Krishna and they happened to be in the battlefield. Therefore, the expressions like fight and get up are only contextual. Krishna was not interested in a battle as such. He was only interested in dharma. He was not interested in engaging anyone in a fight. We should not think the Gita says that I should fight. Therefore, I'm going to fight it out. This is not what was said here. That the situation may amount to a fight is one thing, but removing sorrow is the real issue. Removing the shoka and moha, sorrow and delusion. There are some points in the Gita, like this one, that are important to understand well because they are areas where people often misunderstand the intended meaning. So, this has to be clear in our mind that Gita is not a pravritti shastra, it is a nivritti shastra. Why? Because it only, although seemingly Bhagwan is asking Arjuna to get up and fight, seemingly he is asking him to do a pravritti karma, he is actually goading him, he's getting him out of that sorrow and delusion. Arjuna was anyway prepared to fight. He's only asking him to stand up and do what is supposed to do.
Right. Nibriti is not the action, right? It's pravritti is the
Nivritti is
one
the
action
knowledge,
based.
marga of knowledge, where the confusion is released. Is
Right. Because he removing that sorrow and delusion by the knowledge, the nivriti part. That's how the Gita is born. Whereas the pravritti part, where you say what is to be done, is to be done. So, I mean, you're right. Like we have to understand every word of it to really to understand the intended meaning, not to have any misconception about it. Yeah.
see, and these two examples where
Uh, The child and the
yeah, the child and the
sannyasi.
wife.
Yeah, that is
I
really
will
good
not take
example.
care of my child because it takes so long, but
Yeah.
I want to pursue moksha.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what Arjuna was stuck in. He says, I don't
Yeah.
want to fight because I'm going to kill all my people.
Yeah.
That will
That will
cause the
cause him.
destruction of whatever the dharma and everything. Not dharma,
Mm,
the tradition. He's given so
yeah.
many logical explanations. So
Yeah.
I do not want to fight,
Kula
but I want
dharma,
to
pitra
become
karma.
sannyasa. You're telling me moksha is knowledge is important. You're telling me moksha is what is important. So
Mm,
I want to pursue the path of knowledge. I want to become a sannyasi.
mm,
Whereas what he had to do was as a kshatriya, he had to protect dharma. That was his.
mm.
So a householder who has a child cannot say, I will not take care of my child. I want to pursue moksha marga. I want to pursue this. No. Take care of your child is what Krishna will tell you. That is being a karma yogi.
Yeah.
While what is a
Uh,
karma? Who is a karma yogi? While pursuing your karma, your duties, you also pursue knowledge.
yeah.
You cannot shun your duties. Very, very
The
grounding this is, no?
Kyana Upanishad, I mean, I didn't listen to it completely yet, but it also says the same thing, right? Like uh, this karma part is the early part of the Vedas, you following the Vedas to some extent and then going on to the spiritual knowledge. And then um, and the moksha is sorry the like heaven and those things are like limited end once you realize that you are going to this moksha. as the uh, that taking that marker to achieve this. What do you call that? That's what I kind of learned so far in the Dhyana Upanishad also.
Mhm.
Slowly you're taking through that, going into the spiritual path.
So, shall we close here today?
Mhm.
So, although Atma is not an object, although Atma is aprameya, not an object that has to be known, Gita Shastra, Vedanta is required as a pramana to just remove the confusion, the wrong understanding, which is the basic human error. So, therefore, that is their pramanatva. They're required as a pramana, as a means of knowledge to clear this confusion. Shoka and moha, sorrow and delusion.
Shokan, what was that called? Shoka Moha something.
Shoka and moha.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we'll start with verse 19 tomorrow. We'll close here. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Take it,
I'll
thank
post
you.
the recording of the Kenopanishad in the group. You can, those of you who've missed it, can listen to it.
Okay.